Well, that went poorly. Ever since Corn got revealed as the second last DLC fighter in Smash 4, the Smash fans have been pretty hostile against the Fire Emblem franchise. So, when Byleth got revealed as the last DLC character from the Fighters Pass, the salt got real in the Smash community. A lot of people would have been upset anyway since it wasn't a third party character, even though Sakurai never confirmed this, but the fact that it was the 8th Fire Emblem character just made it about 10 times worse. A big part of the community thinks it's unfair that Fire Emblem has so many characters that are all the same, while bigger franchises like Zelda and Kirby haven't had a newcomer since Brawl. But what if I told you that there's actually a good reason for that? And no, it's not just because Nintendo wants to promote the series or because Sakurai is a huge fanboy. I'm talking about a 100% logical explanation for why Fire Emblem has way more playable characters than Legend of Zelda. To start this off, let's answer the question of why Fire Emblem has gotten so many newcomers as of late. To make this easier to explain, I'm gonna compare Fire Emblem to a series you all know and love, Pokemon. I know what some of you are thinking, and no, I'm not saying these two are similar in terms of success or how important they are to Nintendo, but rather in the way they handle their characters. As most of you know, in every mainline Pokemon game, a whole generation of new Pokemon get introduced, and in other words, a whole bunch of new playable characters. So, to properly represent these games in the newest Smash entries, the developers have to include at least one character from these games, right? Well, Fire Emblem works pretty similarly. Almost every mainline game trades in the old cast of characters for an entirely new one. So to properly represent these new games, new characters need to be added as well. For the people that haven't played Fire Emblem, this might sound weird, but the franchise doesn't really have any recurring characters. Let's take Marth for example. How many games do you think the face of Fire Emblem has appeared in? 4. Out of the 17 games, and that's counting 2 remakes. He hasn't had an original game since 1994, and this is the highest number out of all the FE characters in Smash. The closest is Ike with only 2. This right here is why Sakurai feels obligated to include at least one new Pokemon and FE lord with every new installment. This is a problem, in very big quotation marks, that franchises with recurring characters like Mario, Zelda and Kirby don't have to deal with. Mario, Luigi, Peach and Bowser perfectly represented the main Mario games in 2001 and still do to this day. So what we should have gotten Bandana D, Kirby, Meta Knight and Dedede still perfectly represent the entire Kirby franchise on their own. And while the Zelda games keep introducing great new characters with every entry, they're always either side characters or villains that only appear in one game. The roles they play are comparable to the ones of Rosalina and Bowser Jr. And I'm sure that if they appeared in just one more game or were a bit more unique, they'd have a way bigger chance to get in. But as it is, Sakurai seems to represent The Legend of Zelda in a different way. We could have had one of Breath of the Wild's many new characters in Ultimate, but instead the game got represented through a redesign of Link, complete with some big changes to his moveset. This has been done in the past games too, and Sakurai's philosophy might be that having only these redesigns in is enough to represent the most recent Zelda games. But to give the man some credit, he clearly tried to make almost every Zelda character represent a different game this time around. We have Breath of the Wild, A Link to the Past, the N64 games and Wind Waker plus the DS games. You might notice that 2 big Zelda games aren't represented here. So you know what that means? Yep, Kira and Midna are confirmed for the Fighter Pass. Oh. But anyway, this is the reason why The Legend of Zelda has such a small representation, despite it being one of Nintendo's biggest franchises.
But that doesn't explain why there are 7 Marth clones in my game. I never even played Fire Emblem, but I'm gonna dislike all the trailers anyway.
Okay, shut the fuck up. To be honest, the fact that there even are so many FE characters in Smash is more because of a bunch of coincidences than anything else. Let's go through all the characters to show you what I mean. So, it all started in Melee, which was originally only supposed to have Marth. But since Fire Emblem The Binding Blade was about to come out, Sakurai decided to quickly add in Roy as a clone or Echo Fighter for Marth. And at the time, he really had the exact same moves and animations as Marth, with the only differences being his running speed, weight, his non-existent hitboxes, and his sword that can catch on fire. Roy did get changed lots in Smash 4 and Ultimate, but the similarities are definitely still there. He was also planned to be in Brawl, but probably due to time constraints, he along with some others didn't quite make the cuts. Instead, I got added to rep the GameCube and Wii games, And if you say that Marth and I play the same, I can tell that you have either never played as them or played the game like this. So, both Marth and I returned in Smash 4, and Sakurai was tasked with choosing a representative for Fire Emblem Awakening. This was kind of a complicated process, because while Chrom is supposed to be the protagonist, Sakurai had problems giving him an original moveset, and he probably didn't want to make him a Marth clone. So instead, he decided to put in the avatar character Robin, with the most original Fire Emblem movesets to date. And at the last minute he decided to add a Marth clone anyway, just like he did with Roy. But speaking of Roy, later in Smash 4's lifetime, he and his copy-pasted moveset came back as DLC, mostly thanks to all the fandom had, mind you, and everyone was like, wow, Fire Emblem has 5 characters now, that's great! And then Corn came out with a completely unique moveset, and everyone was like, damn, why this Fire Emblem has 6 characters who play all the same? Okay, obviously the majority of the fans weren't like this. And while the game was already out in Japan at the time, if you weren't a hardcore AV fan, you had no idea who he was. Hell, that was the case for me. And while I'll always be thankful to this announcement for getting me into the series, I can understand how people felt like this was one big advertisement. At this point, the hate against Fire Emblem got real, with many people wishing multiple characters got in the next game. Idiots. Surprisingly enough, only Chrom got his chance another day in Ultimate, thereby completing the trio of Awakening protagonists. And after that, the Smash community rejoiced in the fact that no other RV newcomers got added to the game. And now let's go back to the present. Look, I'm not gonna argue that the Byleths look distinct from the predecessors, but in terms of playstyle, they couldn't be more different. While most of their sword buddies are rushdown characters focused on overwhelming the opponent, the Byleths can't really do that because of their low mobility. So, like Robin, they have to focus on keeping their opponent at range. But unlike Robin, Byleth doesn't really have any projectiles that come out under the 40 frames, and instead has to rely a lot more on the range of their physical moves. Combine that with the fact that they're the first character to use a lance, axe and bow all alongside their swords, and you have one of the most unique sword fighters in the entire game. So, to put that into perspective, out of the 7 characters from before Byleth came out, 3 had a completely unique playstyle. One of them was Marth, and 3 of them were last minute additions who were at one point echoes from Marth. By that logic, the complaining fans should have embraced the Byleths when they showed off how unique they were. What they did instead was reject the characters immediately, just because they're from that one franchise with too many anime sword fighters. At this point it just feels like people hate on Fire Emblem just because it's Fire Emblem. Look, I get it, you guys wanted Master Chief or Dante or Fortnite Man or something. But this isn't the right way to make that clear. Look, I don't want to get too emotional here, but this whole situation just made me sad. Byleth was unironically the newcomer I was the most excited for in Ultimate's entire lifetime. I remember watching the announcement in class, trying to hide my phone behind my cover with the sound turned off, and when I saw it was Byleth, I was genuinely happy. From that moment I knew people would be salty, but stuff like this is just taking it too far. It honestly felt like the entire internet was telling me that I wasn't allowed to be happy over this. And if that was what I felt, I can't imagine how other fans or developers like Sakurai, who are clearly passionate about this, reacted. What I'm trying to say is, it's okay to like Byleth, and it's even okay if you hate him. But it's not okay to hate on people and shame them just because they like a character. Please just keep that in mind for the next Fighters Pass. Oh my god, it's finally over. I did not plan for this video to be as long as it is now. I honestly planned for this to be a little 5-minute video that I could finish in about a week, but as you can see, that didn't quite happen. If you're still here, thank you so much for sticking around. If you're interested in hearing more like this, well, that's what the subscribe button is for, I think. My next few videos like this probably won't be about Smash, but if you like Xenoblade, Fire Emblem Free Houses or Smash montages, I'd consider sticking around. I think I'm gonna stop rambling for now, or else I'm never gonna get this video finished. So, this has been Max, signing out.